Hey friend, welcome to Self-Transformed, a podcast redefining self-care through simple fitness, nutrition, and mindset habits. I'm your host, Emily Nichols, certified personal trainer, Whole30 coach, and Taco Tuesday enthusiast. Hey, I know the struggle is real when it comes to taking care of you. I too am a busy working mom who felt physically and emotionally drained until I took action on my own transformation journey. I finally found the solutions to feeling confident and living a healthy lifestyle that doesn't feel hard, and now I'm on a mission to equip you with sustainable tools to help transform your life from the inside out, guilt-free. Together, we will simplify your health and fitness into daily habits that don't feel like another thing on your long to-do list, but daily actions that light you up instead. So if you're ready to redefine self-care and step into your own self-transformation, then let's do this. You're listening to episode 125 of Self-Transformed. Oh my goodness, you guys, I have to address this really quick. I think there is a cricket in my office and I cannot find it. So if you hear a cricket in the background, you're not going crazy. That's in my office right now. My youngest son actually got a bearded dragon for his birthday, and so now we house crickets at our home to feed said bearded dragon. But it's actually super cool and a really nice pet for him. But I digress. Hello, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to the show. If this is your first time joining us, hello, my name is Emily. I'm a habit and self-care coach, and I am here to help empower women to use habit strategy to help you take care of yourself from the inside out. Now look, I know this is a very busy time of year. There's a lot going on, right? So many tabs open in your head, on your laptop, all over the place, and you're trying to do it all. And as we're going into the new year, I want to encourage you to make a plan to take care of yourself. So in order to help you do that, I am relaunching, bringing back my most popular workshop from last year. It's completely free. It's Habit Breakthrough Boot Camp. So let's call it Habit Breakthrough Boot Camp 2.0. It was my most popular workshop last year because it helped you do the hardest part that it comes down to habit strategy, and that is actually taking action. So I'm unveiling during this workshop a brand new habit method I've never released before. It's something I've been working on for a while, something that will be easy to implement, easy for you to remember as well, because as we talked about, I know you got a lot of tabs open in your head, but really focusing on how you can take care of yourself from the inside out with strategy behind it. Because trust me, I have started and stopped so many different ways to take care of myself. But it just doesn't happen if I think about it. I actually have to implement it into my busy life using strategy to do that. And we do that together through my program called Self-Transform You. So during our Habit Breakthrough Boot Camp, it is going to be January 4th through 6th in my private Facebook group. Come on over there. There's a link in the show notes, or you can go to bit.ly/self-transformed-fam to join us over there. Like I said, it's the 4th through 6th, just 3 days. I'll be going live every day at 12 p.m. Eastern. I want you to come on live with me. I want you to comment in order to be entered into a giveaway. So I'll be giving away to 2 different ladies my brand new habit tracker. It's exclusively available in the Habits That Stick starter kit, but it's so good. I want to be able to give that away to somebody, but also someone will win a spot in Self-Transform You. It's my signature program. We'll call this one STU 2.0 as well, because I completely revamped my program based on client feedback, based on knowing what helps ladies be successful in regards to taking care of themselves from the inside out, having that habit strategy and some extra accountability from me. So one of the new things I'll unveil to you right now is that there will be a one-on-one call with me and you when you're enrolled in Self-Transform You. So it's a habit hacking strategy call, a little extra accountability for you as well, and a little bit more personalization for you in STU. So I can't wait. Can't wait. So you can just head over to the Facebook group for now. Join us for a Habit Breakthrough Boot Camp. We'll be opening carts soon on STU, and I'll be dropping more information about how the program is new over time. But come on over. If you can't join the live, you can watch the replays and comment to enter for the giveaway during Habit Breakthrough Boot Camp. I can't wait to see you there and to help you start taking action to take care of yourself. So let's get into today's show. I am so excited to have Polly Payne on the show today from the Dream Planning Podcast. So, okay, full transparency, full on confession, because we're friends here. We are totally friends. I counted before I recorded this episode. I'm like super embarrassed. I have 5 planners from the past year and a half that I have not used. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I just told you that. Like I've even ordered like more expensive ones where like it's had like my name on it or the year, or I'm a big fan of like pale pinks and leopard print and metallic-y golds, and y'all, I just haven't been able to stick to using a paper planner. And I know the power of writing things down. We've talked about it on the show here before, but I think where I was missing the boat with using a planner in all reality is I was missing the why. I wasn't thinking of who I wanted to be when I was setting goals for the new year. I wasn't dreaming. I was just doing a big old brain dump, just doing all the to-dos I have to do. And trust me, I know as a busy working mom, the to-dos are never done. So today we're going to think about using a planner for the new year a little bit differently and think about dreaming instead of just you're writing down all your tasks. So we're going to have that conversation today with Polly Payne. Let me give you a little information on her. So Polly is the founder and CEO of Horacio Printing. Her love language includes luxurious paper and lots of white space. So she's from Alabama and she migrated to the Big Apple and she became a senior sales director at an award-winning ad tech company. And she left her career, redesigned her life, pursued her God-given purpose, and she found Horacio Printing, and she has now sold more than 40,000 dream planners around the world. 40,000, y'all. I am one of those 40,000 because I bought a dream planner for 2022. And she's actually raised more than $66,000 to fight human trafficking. I love this. She has such a big heart. There is a coupon code for you today that I'll include in the show notes for you later on. But for now, get your pen and paper handy. If you have a planner out, trust me, we're going to give you plenty of habit hacks throughout this episode on how you can use your planner without it feeling hard and start dreaming of your life for 2022 instead of just writing down those tasks. Let's go. Enjoy this conversation. All right, gang. Thank you so much again for tuning in to Self-Transformed. I am so excited to talk with Polly Payne today. She has an amazing, amazing dream planner that I am personally using in the new year, and we are going to help you set your goals up right for the new year. So, Polly, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yay. Thanks for having me, Emily.
Can't wait to dig into this conversation. Okay, Polly. Well, the first question I ask every guest is, what does the phrase self-transform mean to you? What comes to mind when you hear that?
For me, it's growth and change, which is inevitable as a human. We grow, we change based on our life experiences, the seasons we walk through. We're going to self-transform. I think it can go north or south with how we transform, right? We can transform to be more bitter, hard of heart, stuck in our ways, stubborn at times. We can have our past experiences and seasons transform us into somebody we don't recognize. We can lose ourselves in seasons. I'm currently not, as we're recording this, I'm like 9 weeks from giving birth. So I am self-transforming. I'm the caterpillar, soon to be a butterfly for the second time. So I have a lot of thoughts on transforming right now because I'm in a season of preparation for a different, transformation with a newborn and all of that. But I think the big thing is, what are we self-transforming into? What are we growing into? And if we want to transform into something healthy, it takes a lot of intention, right? And intention in who we're becoming and how we're becoming that. And so that's what I think of when I think of self-transformation. I think of we change and it's inevitable.
Mm. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's inevitable. And sometimes I think it's really uncomfortable for some folks too when change happens. But like you said, I think it's all about having some intention behind it to ensure that you're heading in the right direction versus like past experiences transforming you into, like you said, someone you don't recognize anymore.
We've all been there. I
Oh,
think I heard once, I love this quote, that your schedule determines who you become in the next season of life. In the
mm,
same way, if you want to be a pilot, well, you have to put that on your calendar, right? You have to go to flight school, you have to log the hours to become that pilot, and then you become it. You transform into a pilot, or you transform into a doctor, or you transform into a HVAC technician. Like whatever you invest in with your schedule, you become it. So that's why I'm so adamant on your schedule and your planner, because your time where you spend it focusing and action determines who you become. And if we don't know what we're doing with our day or our week, it wanders away from us, and we're like, well, what happened to the day? Because we didn't have a plan, or we didn't have a schedule, we didn't have intention around it. And so that's kind of my mission, is to help people become more intentional with their time so they can become and transform into who they want to become.
I love that quote so much. Oh my goodness, you're speaking my love language for sure. Well, Polly, can you share maybe like your own transformation story, a little bit about
Mhm.
what you do now and how the Dream Planner came to be, and maybe even your past experiences that have led you into who you are today?
Oh, sure, for sure. So I'm a Southern girl from Alabama, and I moved up to New York City when I was 21, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I got into marketing. I had studied PR in college, went up there for an internship, stayed for 10 years, and I I was working in marketing, moved into sales, and quickly just started kind of climbing that ladder of worldly success.
Mm,
And I was very personable. People were like, "Oh, you'd be good in sales." So I just kind of went on that track and just kept meeting people, kept becoming a salesperson and growing into that capacity, networking and all that. And I got caught up in I don't know, I just prodigal son, prodigal daughter journey, and just become basically the hot mess express. And so I was in New York, I was probably drinking too much, partying too much, and totally lost my intentional relationship with God. I grew up in the church and just kind of wandered off my own path. And I was just really unhealthy. I found myself in a very unhealthy place in my life. And I started going back to church, and I heard a sermon by Erwin McManus, and he wrote the book, The Artisan Soul, which is so good. So the concept is that we're all artists naturally, because we're created by a artistic, imaginative, divine creator. So we all have this art in us. That's
mm,
why we have this longing to do something purposeful. We have a longing to create something. And when we create something, even if it's a pie or a casserole, and it's fulfilling to create. And so his concept is that your most important work of art is the life you create, and your schedule matters. And if we're not careful, we just get caught up in all these different distractions, and all these vices and idols, and we just wander around and we don't really get good at anything. We just do a lot of things.
mm.
And so his call to action to me, as I'm reading this 11 o'clock one night in August of 2014, was to create a list of all of your distractions, create an exit strategy, and execute it. And I was like, brilliant. And so I got out a piece of paper and I started bubbling out my life. I love bubble charts. I'm very visual. And so I start bubbling out all the things I'm doing in my life. I'm trying to do this and doing that. I'm taking out clients. I'm working. I'm, trying to get this, that, and the other. And I just realized, okay, what on this list do I have to let go of? For me, it was going out. It was taking out clients, because that had become part of my job. And that was part of an excuse that kind of led me down a path of excess, because I wasn't getting up early and having my Bible study. I wasn't doing the healthy things in my life.
Mm.
And so I just said, you know what, I'm going to make a big change. And at that point, always been a big planner fan, always been a big dreamer and, journaler. And so I just said, you know what, I'm going to make a planner for the Christian woman. and I'm just going to make it beautiful. And that's when I sat down, because I knew if I was going to do this journey of transformation and make some life changes and actually create something to help me and help others, I had to make some serious changes with my time, where I spent my time, how I spent my time. And so I needed a planner, and that's how it kind of started to birth. And by October of that year, we had launched Horacio Printing. So it was a very quick birth. I'm a big fan of like, get it done in 3 months.
Right.
When I like put my head to something, like I just go full force. And so I put myself under a rock, didn't go out at all, didn't hang out with any friends. I was working on the evenings and on the weekends on Horacio. I hired 2 amazing designers that were working at my ad tech company at the time, and also went to church with me. And they were just super creative, amazing colleagues to partner with. And they helped me with the design. And I just sketched everything out in a journal, tested it. And then we went off to the printers and off to the races pretty much. And that year I bought 1,000 and we sold out by January. And then we've just kept the ball rolling. It's been a tumultuous journey. I mean, to be honest, entrepreneur life is not mountaintops. It's a lot of valleys, a lot of pivoting, a lot of confusion, a lot of like, oh, I didn't realize that was going to cost that. Oh my gosh, there goes all the profit, we've switched printers. We've had all sorts of shipping delays and issues. And, we've been around for 7 years now. And so it's been quite a journey. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. And through that, I just did Horacio Printing as a side hustle for 1.5 years. And then eventually I quit and did it full time. And through this journey, I've just been transforming in my own personal growth of who do I want to become, and making sure that that goes in my planner first, the activities of who I'm becoming, which I've done a lot of transformation. I've moved out of New York, moved to Florida. Now we're in Tennessee. And it's been a lot of transforming into motherhood 2.5 years ago. And like, what does that look like to be in a healthy marriage, or to be financially at peace, or to be a present mom, and make sure I'm scheduling those things in my planner, because it matters. You have to actually schedule it so you can show up.
That's such an amazing story. I love it when like you hear something and it's kind of like that hearing that sermon was really pivotal for you, and obviously kind of changed the whole trajectory of where you were going with your life. I love that so much. That was a little God moment there for sure. It's a little pushing you in that direction. What I love about the dream planner is it's not just like, here's the month and the dates and the tasks I have to do. I really appreciate how you put in scripture in there, and how you have time to like write out your goals and dreams and checking in with yourself. Can you explain a little bit more the structure of the planner and why that's important? You kind of alluded to that already, but can you expand on that a little bit more, Polly?
Absolutely. So the front section of the planner, I call it the canvas, because your life is your most important work of art. Your life is your canvas. And that's why I love Erwin so much, because he's such a dreamer and an artist. And I hadn't really heard anybody kind of say that, like, you're an artist, like as a Christian, you're an artist, or you're creative, because God's creative. And because I think we get a lot of messaging about, submission, obedience, but there's not a whole lot of like, your God-given imagination's good, like God puts dreams in your heart for good. And the thing I've learned recently is you have to become who God has called you to become, to do the dreams God has called you to sustain it, so you don't burn out, so you don't crash and burn, so you don't have it turn into an idol in your life. And so becoming is just as important as the dreaming and the doing. They go hand in hand. But the front section is about really declaring who you want to become, unashamedly writing out your bucket list, writing out the distractions you want to minimize, like I did when I first started the planner. A section to write down your intentional generosity of how you want to be generous in the next season. There's a heart check section to help you let go of any baggage you're carrying. Like, who do you need to forgive? What do I need to let go of?
Mm.
What fears are holding me back? And a special space to actually write out your fears and then write down a scripture to conquer them, which we have a whole index on our website to help you find one, make it easy, push the easy button and get a scripture. But that's the canvas section. And I think it's really intentional to look at who you want to become before you start crafting all your to-dos. Because most of the time when we sit down with a planner, and I'm guilty of this too, we just focus on, okay, what's urgent and what do I have to do so I don't get in trouble? And, we tend to autopilot into people pleasing. What do I have to do so nobody gets mad at me? What do I have to do so everybody lives? And we're in survival mode, urgency mode, people pleasing mode. There's a time and a place. Like sometimes you are just in survival mode, and sometimes you are, a lot of things are on fire and I've got to figure it out. I've got to just brain dump and get it going. But I think the real fulfilling space is where we can say, okay, here's my week. And actually, I'm going to put these really important things first of who I'm becoming and what those little tasks look like to have a maintenance on my marriage, to have a maintenance on my finances, to have a maintenance on my spiritual health, because those things don't feel as urgent until they're on fire.
True.
But if we can do them before they're on fire, that's the goal, like taking care of your health, your physical health, right? Like it doesn't feel urgent to go to the gym, but it does when your, ligaments break because your knees are bad because you're overweight, or your heart attack happens because you haven't been taking care of yourself, or your teeth have a cavity because you haven't been flossing, right? We have to do things before they get urgent, because that will lead us into not being on fire, which is where all the stress is, right? So this is a way to have less stress in your life, more fulfillment, focusing on things that are important, but not urgent.
I love that, because I think we do lose a sense of who we are, what we want to become in that daily to-do list, and just checking off tasks. Like, are those tasks really, going back to who you wanted to become, who you are right now, as far as, like you said, being a spouse, a mom, what are you doing to take care of yourself? And like you said, when your life feels like you're running around with your hair on fire. Like we've all been there. And there are seasons where there is a flux of that, more of that than what we want to. But if you're able to get it all out and have the who and the why at the forefront, it's a lot easier to put out those fires when it's just a little spark versus boom, up in big flames, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like a date night, it doesn't feel urgent that we do that every week, or even just sit down and have a talk without our phones. But when the bitterness gets so deep, set, and then you're on a path of complete disconnection.
Yeah.
Well, now it's obvious, and then you end up kind of on a bank, with your canoe and no paddle. And you're like, how did I end up here?
Right.
Like life is a current, life flows and it's going whether you know it or not. Sometimes it's a lazy river. Sometimes it's a whitewater rapids, and if we're not intentional of like, okay, where am I going on this thing? Where's my paddle? And how do I take a sharp left right now? We're going to end up somewhere we don't want to be, either disconnection, disease. There's a lot of banks we end up on, right? Debt. If we're like not careful about what we're doing with our money, we're just ching, 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 and not checking in on where we're at and where we're going. It's so easy to flow because there's so many things pulling us in different directions.
Absolutely. Ugh, I love that so much. Yeah. When I opened up the Dream Planner, I was like, yes, yes, yes. I need to do all this before I start checking off like what my goals are for 2022, what tasks I need to do to reach those. I've bought a lot of planners in the past, and I have a lot of planners that I've used for like a month or two, and they're like sitting there not being used, not being utilized. I was at the point where I was like, well, I need to buy one where I can just fill in the dates, because if I get behind, I'm like, okay, I can just write in the dates because now I'm 6 months behind. We're all about habits here at Self Transform, because I really feel like, kind of like you said, if you have your schedule and you're really intentional with the habits and the tasks that you're doing every day to leading you to who you want to be, to eventually those goals you want to reach, it's really great. But there's a lot of times where we don't utilize a planner like that. So what are some quick tips or habits that someone can do in order to continually and consistently use a planner, like a actually pen to paper planner?
Yeah. So, there's 100 ways to skin a cat, um, in terms of like how to do it. But I guess for me, and I'll be honest, like I've had seasons where I miss a week or two and I created the thing, So I just want to be honest. 'Cause it happens. It happens. I went through a depression this past year at the beginning of my pregnancy. And I talk about it on my podcast. You can go back to like why I took a sabbatical episode and hear about that journey, because it was dark and I didn't fill out my planner for a month. And I shared that open and honestly because I was like, man, I feel like such a fraud because here I am like Polly Planner. I pride myself on being an encourager, and I was just like a bump on a log. So here's the thing I want to share is you have to give yourself grace. You can always dust that thing off and start. I don't care if you're getting started and it's November or it's December. Like you can always start again, period. And a fun thing to do is you can go back to the weeks you missed and write down special memories, write down the thing you were thankful for that happened that week, put a scripture there, decorate it, like fill it up with something. My friend Dawn Cherie, like she used the planner for years just to write down at the end of the day, like something she was thankful for that happened that day, a happy memory or a scripture. And that's all she used the planner. There's no wrong way to use it, that was years ago when she was using the vertical layout. But in terms of habits to use it, this is my method. Is I have a sit down where I plan out the whole week, where I really look at my week and what's going to happen. And I tend to do that on Friday at the end of my work week. But sometimes it happens Sunday, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I like to do it Friday. Like that's my like, ooh, I'm winning, because if I can get it done Friday at like 4:30, 4 o'clock when I'm wrapping up the work day, I can really close the book on work and enjoy my weekend. And I do the same thing for my daily planning. I like to go to the spa, which is a time where I create a specific plan of action for tomorrow. And I do that around 4 o'clock. I have it literally on my sheet right here. I'm showing you through Zoom. But I go to the spa, and that is a reminder to me that I've got to plan out my next day. And I'll start with writing down my top 3 things for the next day, looking at what I have going on, and, making sure my priorities are aligned with who I'm becoming and what's, kind of the area I really want to focus on. Maybe it's health, maybe it's my spiritual life, like whatever's kind of feeling low. And I create that plan, and that helps me close the book on the day. So I don't feel like I need to be checking in after my daughter goes down and jumping into work. And there are seasons where I'll be honest, like I'm working at night and I'm watching TV and I'm like getting something done, or there's a launch coming up or whatever. But that habit has been really helpful for me because I have peace knowing, okay, I'm going to go pick up my child now and I've got my plan for tomorrow. And that feels really good. And I don't have to waste any time when I'm the freshest in the morning after that first cup of coffee to create my plan for the day, because I created it yesterday when I already knew what are the big things I've got to get done, and, maybe putting the things I dread first and like knocking that out. What's most important that I get done, and having that time to ponder about my day the next day.
Yeah. Well, that starts your day on such the right foot versus like, oh my gosh, what's going on today? Like, what do I got to get done? And even thinking about planning, I like how you bookend it on Friday at the end of the work week. I do a lot of it on Sunday, but I think just you saying that, I'm like, I think I need to change it to Friday. That way I go into my weekend, like ready to go, check in Sunday evening, like, okay, this is what's coming up this week. I already planned it out on Friday, but it just helps you start off the day so much more organized. You're ready to go, whether that would be doing some type of workout in the morning, where that would be, okay, I have an early meeting. I need to make sure I have all that planned out. This is when I'll shower to make sure I'm ready to show up to a meeting, that starts it so much more intentional versus just chaos. And we've all been there where we didn't plan out the day and we're like, oh my gosh, I forgot I had all this going on.
Mm-hmm.
but there's so much power, I feel like, in pen to paper even. I use my Google Calendar obviously for tons of things, and I'll put random things on there like, oh, I want to make sure I work on this today too. But would you say there's even more power doing pen to paper versus using like electronic calendar?
I think the hybrid is super powerful, right? I have been working with Chelsea Joe and learning some of her strategies when it comes to her time blocking system, because she was kind of a missing puzzle piece of like connecting the who you're becoming to your schedule for me. And I call her my missing puzzle piece. But yeah, she does both. And I think that's really special. And I think it's really critical because when I look at my planner, it's more about who I'm becoming and less of what I have to do, which is nice. But oh gosh, you were just talking about sitting down to look at your week. Oh, I just lost my train of thought.
All right. You're 9 weeks away from having a baby, girl.
Yeah. Pregnancy brain.
I mean, oops. Well, I know for me, I do like using an electronic calendar. I like having like a notification pop up like, oh, just a reminder, I got a meeting here in 15 minutes. But I like the idea of a planner to be able to almost like journal, and like you said, have those tasks written out, but really focus back on who you're becoming.
Yes. Okay. I just had my thought come back. So when you're looking at Friday at the end of the week, let's say or Sunday, when you're sitting down to plan out your next week, I think one of the most critical questions to ask yourself, which questions are everything with transformation, right? It's about asking these critical questions. What if your week went terrible? What happened this week that like, I don't want to repeat, and maybe it was like, we were late for school every single day, or whatever it is. I didn't get a workout in. I don't know, like sit down to think about it. What was so bad that like truly threw everything off? And if something was really great that week, what was really good this week that I need to repeat? And I think those little maintenance questions is also really helpful, because we don't want to keep repeating what's not working. Right? Just because that's the habit we're in of like, well, this is what we do. I wake up when my daughter's crying in the morning and that's just what happens. But it's always been throwing us off. Well, there needs to be a change, right? And I think that's why sitting down with the questions and looking at your week and having that thought of, okay, well, the week went great. What did I do? I worked out 3 times this week. Okay, I've got to do that again. Or we had a date night. Like where are you encouraged? And let's repeat that. Where are you really discouraged? Let's change that. I think it can be as simple as that. If you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, my week has been a mess. Okay, let's sit down. What was not working this week that really threw things off? Maybe it was like we didn't have any meals prepped and like blah, blah. What threw off the budget? What threw off your spiritual life? Like, and then how can those things be added in as the priority next week?
I love that. I like how you mentioned it's maintenance, like actually sitting down and being like, okay, what went great? What didn't? How can I make this next week better? And, flip that. That's so great. Because I think sometimes you just get so caught up in like, oh, this week was so tough. And like, I felt so off and just felt so chaotic. All right, we're just going into the next week now versus looking back and be like, how can I make this better for this next week? Because then you get into a pattern. It's almost like the compound effect. Like you just keep having these weeks where it's just tough. You don't feel in control. And over time, that's when that burnout happens. That's when you feel like everything's on fire.
1,000%. And I think there's a big switch when you realize you're actually more in control than you think.
Mm-hmm.
And as a believer, we're in this space of, okay, God is in control. He controls all things. It's his will. But we can also fall into this trap of thinking that we're the victim and we have no course over our life or our time. When God said, no, I gave you this time to steward. It's on you to steward your time.
Yeah.
And we have to bring our 100%. And then God brings his 100% to fulfill the outcomes of our life. But we still have to show up. We have to be intentional with our time. We have to be honest. We have to be a hard worker. The Bible's very clear to not be lazy and to not, be intentional right? And so it is on us to steward our time well, to steward that gift of our lives well. And so that is on you, and it is your canvas. And if something's really not working, like maybe you have these early morning meetings that throw your day, start booking those in the afternoon. Like change it, set a boundary. Maybe it's something you have to delete out of your life or a boundary you have to change. But I think really absorbing the fact that your life is your canvas and you truly can change it and you can transform it through creating a new schedule is really powerful.
I love that so much. I love the idea of just being creative and being in control of your life. And we always say with our clients, like you're never going to find time. You have to make the time, and just being super intentional with everything you're doing, and not just being like, oh, well, I'm the victim, I'm just too busy. It's like, no, what is, just like we talked about earlier, making a distraction list or doing a habit inventory to find out where those time sucks are, where the time is just like being sucked away towards something that's not going towards who you wanted to become. Scrolling social media for 30 minutes in a pocket of time is not really going towards really who you want to become, right? But it's so easy because it turns into a habit. So let's kind of finish up here. So we're going into the new year. I know folks are setting goals for the new year as well. What would you say, Polly, is one of the most important things to keep in mind when setting goals for the new year?
So I like to set like dreams, kind of pie in the sky stuff, and just have fun with that, with my imagination. And then I think we've been kind of hitting home on this the whole time, but the goals are, who do I want to become? And in my planner, I have a wheel and there's 8 slices of pie or wheel, whatever you want to call it. And so it allows you to assess how am I doing in all 8 areas? And then who do I want to become, and what area is really weak? And then creating an actual schedule where you're doing one little thing a week in each slice. I think it's good to break it down into small things versus these gigantic goals, and just work on taking care of you and getting yourself in a healthy place, because I believe healthy you will have healthy dreams. Healthy, and toxic you will have toxic dreams, right? Scared you will have scared dreams. And so I think one of the best dreams you can start with is the dream of you becoming the best version of yourself, because everything you do will flow from that. So that's really, like, in a nutshell, what I would say is looking at what areas are the most discouraging, and then adding these little bitty habits in your week. Like for me and my husband, one of our maintenance things each week is to fill out the marriage journal. We sit down, we write down these 6 questions, and we answer them together. And it can seem trivial or unimportant, but oh my gosh, when we skip a week, it's so obvious. Or, it's a workout, right? And like these little wins, because I think oftentimes we go 0 to 100. Like, I'm going to do perfectionism stuff. I'm going to do the Whole30. And if it's ride or die, and we get this perfectionism bug, and then we give up because it crashes and burns, and we put too much on ourselves. So giving yourself grace, and just, it's week by week, day by day. That's really my advice there.
I love that. I hope everyone wrote that down and is keeping that in mind, because I know a lot of folks are thinking about New Year goals. Well, Polly, thank you so much for coming on this show. Such great timing with the new year starting, and really trying to be intentional with your time and your habits and who you want to be. I love this conversation so much. Where can everyone connect with you to find out more about you, your show, and your planner?
Yeah. So my show is the Dream Planning Podcast. Come on over. Do lots of fun productivity, dream planning episodes, Bible studies, interviews with dreamers that have done really cool things, and some business coaching as well. And because a lot of people that follow me, one of their big dreams is to start a business. So I love helping people kind of steward that gift. You can find all of my products at HoracioPrinting.com. That's HORACIO printing.com. And I gave Emily a wonderful code to give all of you lovely listeners 15% off anything you purchase over there with the code Emily15. And I do have 2 little courses, if you want some more hand holding through these methods, I do have the dream crafting course that really is about mapping out your big dream, but first focusing on the dream of you step by step. We go through breaking strongholds, fear of judgment, fear of failures, so you can actually succeed in your dreams. And then we do have the Dreamer Summit that had just happened December 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That was a really fun live virtual event where we set up our planners together. And you can actually watch the replay of that and get 15% off any of those courses or the ticket to the summit with Emily's code. So just wanted to let you know about that as well.
Awesome. You're doing so many amazing things, Polly. Thank you so much. And gang, I'll make sure to include all of those links in the show notes for you. So Polly, again, thank you so much for coming on this show. I feel really great heading into the new year, and I'm sure everyone else does as well. So thank you again for your time.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Polly, thank you so much for this conversation. I feel lit up to start using my dream planner and the habit strategies we talked about in today's show. And you, dear listener, I hope you feel the same way. So as always, we're big on taking action here at the Self-Transformed community. So let's go over my 3 biggest takeaways. So number 1, I kind of alluded to this at the beginning of the episode, but I think it's worth sharing again because I think it's one of the most important things that Polly addressed for us. And that is to focus on who you want to become, not just what you want to achieve, but who you want to become. I love how she mentioned, you can be an artist. You can your life is your canvas. You can create what you want. And I don't know about you, but I know for sure I don't want to create a life that's just full of to-do lists and knocking tasks off my list. I want to be intentional and have a more fulfilling plan on who I am becoming first. Then those daily tasks will come into play. Okay? So like Polly mentioned, those things that we're doing to become who we want to be, sometimes they don't feel as urgent until your life is like your hair's on fire, right? We talked about that last week in our proactive versus reactive self-care episode. Go back and listen to it. But what daily tasks are you doing every day to support who you want to become? If who you want to become is a healthy person, are you doing some type of movement? Are you fueling your body? Is that to be a more intentional wife for your spouse? So what tasks will help you to do that, to be who you want to become? So number 2, habit strategy. Yes, you knew I was going to talk about this, girl. So let's talk about some habit strategy to use your planner so you don't have 5 sitting around your office like me collecting dust. I swear, I'm like saving them because I intentionally buy them where I can fill in the date because I'm like, I know I'm going to miss them. But I'm changing the way I think about that, and I am a person that has healthy habits around using a planner because I believe in the power of pen to paper. So number 1, you can give yourself grace, and you can always go back and start again, okay? We don't have to have that all or nothing attitude, which, spoiler alert, we're talking about that on a bonus episode this Thursday, an all or nothing attitude. But the power of pen to paper is strong. There's a lot of emotions that may come out versus just typing things down. So a habit you can have is to sit down and plan for the next week. So I love the idea of doing it on a Friday afternoon to end your day, revisiting on Sundays, because, on the weekends, I try not to work very much. I am very intentional and I don't get on social media very much unless, I just want to. So have a plan. Use your electronic calendar to help remind you of that. So stacking it on top of something. So maybe at the end of the day at 4 p.m. you close your laptop and you're going to end your day around then. Set a reminder on your Google Calendar or whatever electronic calendar you use to be like, okay, it's the end of the day. It is time to use my planner, sit down what I'm going to think about doing for the rest of the week, okay? Electronic can be used, to get those tasks done, but if you want to sit down and take a look at what went great through the week, what you were doing to become who you wanted to be, what you need to do to reevaluate if you are on that track or not, you have to be intentional with actually taking the time to do it. And like we've said on this show millions of times, you will never find time. Heavens no, you will never find time. You got to make the time. So using some habit strategy to use your planner, using some electronic, reminders on your phone, your calendar or whatnot, that will help ensure your success with keep using your planner as well. And then my third takeaway, I think this is really important. So ask yourself questions on what went great this previous week, what maybe wasn't so great this week as well, and what can you do to change it up next week or keep it up if it was really great, what was super great about it. So actually sit down and reflect about it. We all have those weeks where maybe we feel a little off or our schedule gets thrown for a loop, and it's good to reflect on that as well moving forward. I loved this quote Polly said during our chat together. She said, "You're actually more in control of your life than you think." And I want you to have that mindset going into 2022, being super intentional, using something like the Dream Planner to help dream and think about who you want to become, not just what you're doing with your life, and using some habit strategy to make that happen, being intentional. And over time, these habits that you're doing, writing in that planner every day, reflecting, using the habit strategies that we talk about, like in the Habits That Stick Starter Kit, for example, it's going to help you feel more in control of your life than you ever thought you could be, because you are in control of your life. You just need to prove it to yourself. So Polly, thank you again for coming on this show. Gang, I have links in the show notes if you would like to connect with Polly and go listen to her show on your favorite streaming service, as well as the Dream Planning Podcast. And you can go to HoracioPrinting.com. I'll leave a link in the show notes as well. And for 15% off of your Dream Planner, you can use the code Emily15. That's EMILY. The number 15, all together, no spaces, to save 15% off your Dream Planner, so you can start planning and dreaming of what you want 2022 to look like for you and who you are becoming. So gang, don't forget, while you're there in the show notes, grabbing your Dream Planner, you can go over to the Facebook community, join us for Habit Breakthrough Bootcamp happening January 4th through the 6th. While you're in the Facebook group, come on over. You can check out the guides section and be able to check out previous free coaching worksheets, all kinds of goodies there, and obviously lots of funny memes, because memes give me life over here, okay? And don't forget, I'll be dropping more nuggets about what the new and improved Self-Transform You is going to look like, and if you'd like to join us for that in January, I would be thrilled to have you. So gang, cheers. Here's to a beautiful 2022 and becoming and dreaming about who you are going to be. Hey girl, real quick, before you go, if you love today's show and know your girlfriends need to hear this message too, then grab a screenshot, post it to your Instagram stories, and tag me at EmilyNichols22, because the more mamas out there hearing this message, the more empowered we'll all feel to take care of ourselves so we can pour from a full cup. Or the number one way you can thank me for this podcast is to leave a rating and review in iTunes. That way, more mamas will find the show here too. Love you and appreciate you, girlfriends. See you next time.